What's up, history nerds? Today we're settling one of the most epic debates in human history. Who would win in a fight? A Spartan warrior or a Japanese samurai? I know. You've probably argued about this with your friends after watching 300 for the 10th time. But today we're going deep. We're talking weapons, training, philosophy, and yes, I'm actually going to give you a definitive answer at the end. So grab your energy drink and let's time travel. But first, if you love history content that doesn't put you to sleep like your high school textbook, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're trying to hit 100K subscribers this year, and honestly, your support means everything. All right, let's get into it. First up, let's talk about the Spartans. These guys were basically the ancient world's special forces, if special forces were raised from birth to be killing machines. We're talking about warriors from Sparta, a city-state in ancient Greece that existed from around 900 to 192 BC. Now, when most people think Spartan, they picture Gerard Butler screaming, "This is Sparta," which, let's be honest, is pretty awesome. But the real Spartans were even more hardcore than Hollywood could imagine. Here's the thing about Spartan training. It started at age 7. While other kids were playing with toys, Spartan boys were getting their first lesson in how to not die in combat. They called it the agoge, and it was basically a 13-year military boot camp. They slept on beds made of reeds, got one cloak for the entire year, and were encouraged to steal food. Not because stealing was good, but because getting caught meant you were a bad soldier. Talk about tough love. Now let's talk gear. The classic Spartan warrior carried a bronze-tipped spear called a dory, about 8 feet long and perfect for poking holes in your enemies. They also had a short sword called a xiphos for close combat. And here's the kicker. Their shield, the hoplon, was huge. We're talking 3 feet in diameter and weighing about 15 pounds. But here's why that matters. Spartans fought in formation called a phalanx, where they locked shields together like an ancient tank. Teamwork makes the dream work, people. Now, let's hop over to feudal Japan and meet our other contestant, the samurai. These warriors dominated Japan from roughly the 12th to the 19th century. And if Spartans were the ultimate team players, samurai were the masters of individual combat. Think of them as medieval Japan's elite warrior class, part soldier, part philosopher, part artist. Yeah, they were complicated like that. Samurai training was intense, but different from Spartans. While Spartan kids were learning to endure pain and fight in formation, young samurai were studying calligraphy, poetry, and tea ceremony alongside sword fighting. I know what you're thinking, poetry? Really? But here's the thing. Samurai believed that to be a perfect warrior, you needed a perfect mind and spirit. They followed Bushido, the way of the warrior, which emphasized honor, loyalty, and self-sacrifice. Plus, let's be real, being able to write a beautiful death poem before battle is pretty badass. Equipment-wise, samurai were like walking arsenals. Their main weapon was the katana, probably the most famous sword in history. These weren't just weapons. They were works of art that could slice through bamboo, silk, and yes, human bodies with terrifying efficiency. They also carried a shorter sword called a wakizashi, a bow for range combat, and later on, they even used guns. Their armor was incredible too. Made of small steel plates laced together, it was flexible enough to allow full movement, but strong enough to stop most attacks. So how did they fight? Spartans were all about that formation life. Picture 300 guys, literally, standing shoulder to shoulder, spears pointing forward, shields locked together. It was like facing a human porcupine. They were trained to move as one unit, and breaking their formation was nearly impossible. Samurai, on the other hand, were masters of individual combat. They trained for one-on-one duels, horseback archery, and lightning-fast sword techniques. If Spartans were a heavy metal concert, loud, powerful, and overwhelming, samurai were jazz musicians, improvised, elegant, and deadly precise. Let's talk about what these warriors were actually like physically and mentally. Spartans were built like tanks, muscular, tough, and trained to ignore pain. They literally had a saying, "Come back with your shield or on it." No pressure, right? They were conditioned to never retreat and to view death in battle as the highest honor. Samurai, while also incredibly tough, focused more on mental discipline. They practiced meditation, studied philosophy, and believed in perfecting technique over raw strength. A samurai would spend hours perfecting a single sword cut. They were like the perfectionists of warfare. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. Let's imagine our hypothetical battle. One Spartan warrior versus one samurai in their prime. The Spartan has his dori, ziphos, and hoplon shield. The samurai has his katana, wakizashi, and bow. The terrain is neutral, let's say an open field. Who wins? Well, this is where strategy becomes everything. If they start far apart, the samurai has an advantage with his bow. These guys could hit targets at 100+ yards while riding a horse. The Spartan spear gives him reach, but not that much reach. However, if the samurai's arrows don't penetrate that bronze armor and huge shield, or if he runs out of arrows, we're going to close combat. And that's where things get really interesting. In close combat, the Spartan spear gives him about 8 feet of stay away from me distance. But here's the thing. Samurai train specifically to get inside spear range and close for sword work. If the samurai gets past that spear point, his katana becomes incredibly dangerous. However, that massive Spartan shield is a game changer. It's not just defense. Spartans use it offensively too, shield bashing enemies and creating openings for spear thrusts. Here's where we get into the nitty-gritty. Samurai had more diverse technical skills. They could fight with multiple weapons, were more agile, and had incredible precision. Spartans had raw power, incredible teamwork training, which doesn't help in a 1v1, and were conditioned to never give up. It's like comparing a precision instrument to a sledgehammer. Both can be lethal, but in very different ways. So who wins? After analyzing weapons, training, combat styles, and physical conditioning, I'm going to give this to the samurai. Here's why. In a one-on-one fight, the samurai's versatility, technical skill, and superior armor mobility give him the edge. While the Spartan shield and spear are formidable, the samurai's training specifically prepared him for exactly this type of individual combat scenario. The Spartan was trained to be part of an unstoppable unit. Alone, he's still dangerous, but not in his element. But, and this is a big but, change the scenario even slightly and the outcome changes. Put that Spartan with even 2 or 3 of his buddies. Game over for the samurai. Spartans in formation were basically unbeatable. Also, individual skill varied wildly. An elite Spartan champion versus an average samurai. Spartan wins. An elite samurai versus an average Spartan. Samurai takes it. Context is everything in hypothetical battles. The truth is, both of these warrior cultures were incredible in their own ways. Spartans created one of the most effective military systems in ancient history, and their legacy influenced warfare for centuries. Samurai developed martial arts, philosophy, and individual combat techniques that are still studied today. Comparing them is like comparing a Formula One car to a monster truck. They're both amazing, just built for different purposes. What do you think? Did I get it right? Or are you ready to argue with me in the comments? Let me know your thoughts below. And while you're at it, tell me what other historical matchups you'd like to see. Vikings versus Knights? Roman legionnaires versus Mongol warriors? The possibilities are endless. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more epic history content, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, stay curious, history nerds.